Hi, this is Manjula Narayan, books editor, Hindustan Times, and I have with me Naina Lal Kidwai, who is, we should read the whole, the author note at the back, but everybody knows. We shall get to that for people who don't. But we are here to discuss Survive or Sink, her book on an action agenda for sanitation, water pollution, and green finance. It tackles a lot of issues which are really important to us, you know, like water and sanitation, and women's issues, and safety and pollution as women's safety as a sort of byway.
Yeah.
But I found this, when we were talking, I found this a really interesting book because it offers solutions, and it's a very positive book. We tend to get depressed and think that, oh God, there's no way we're going to get out of this mess that we've made of our environment. And we have made a mess of our environment. I mean, our sanitation is a problem. Our rivers, are dying, and with the population explosion, or the dividend, whichever way you look at it, we have a problem on our hands. So, what do you think? What made you write this book?
Well, it's in the title, isn't it? Because it's an SOS if you read it, vertically, and it's a survive or sink. So the choice is ours, is the way I see it. And the purpose behind my writing the book was really, I've been writing, in fact, in mainline dailies and magazines on a lot of these subjects, but was really to pull it all together in terms of a messaging around what can we do. So one is a wake-up call, and that's the SOS. But having woken up, we have choices, and those choices are not difficult choices. They're choices which we must make and things that we need to do to move ahead. And the good news is, some things have already started. So if you look at the sanitation agenda in the country, it has moved forward remarkably. In the last 4 years, we have seen provision of toilets at particularly the rural level up to 80% plus from 40%. Now, obviously, provision of toilets is not the only thing, because we well know that toilets that were built were then being used as storerooms and all kinds of other things, even a mandir in one case. But
what?
Mandir? Because the room was so beautifully built and with some government subsidy and tiles and all, that it's actually sometimes almost the best room in the house. And so it's never put to use as it should. And so the government very quickly moved to ODF, open defecation free, which means having a toilet is not good enough. The village and district and basically, whole areas are now competing with each other to call themselves open defecation free. And the good news is that we have now at 7 states, a number of union territories which have declared themselves open defecation free. And
though Maharashtra also declared
Bombay.
That's not true.
So what happens is, it's a self-declaration, and there is an audit cycle. So Quality Council of India and there's an NSSO survey. Go in and check 3 to 4 months later.
Okay.
And the good news is that 78% of who declared themselves open defecation free have turned out to be open defecation free. But there is a 22% that falsely declared themselves, and they are really agitated that they didn't make it. So they're trying, and maybe by the next audit they will. So this spirit of competition is very much there. And interestingly, I heard this from a collector in Haryana, and what she said was, they used the argument for the last 10 villages which were refusing to sort of buy into the program for a variety of reasons, that the reason that she gave the elders of the village, who then prevailed on the rest of the village, was the women will all marry into the other villages. But why would they want to come to you if you don't have the toilets and you don't have the hygiene? And that was where the penny dropped. So sometimes the messages have to be around, so there's a shortage of wives and brides. So here you are. Here's one way where you're going to get even further left behind if you don't do it. So I think the government, the collectors, NGOs have been very smart in helping with the behavior change piece. The third area, which is, so it's toilets, it's behavior change, but the third area where we are falling behind is treatment. So
yes, you speak about write about that at length.
Yeah, but so my
And
worry,
that's something that's I wondered about this two pit and all, but what about the cleaning and the sludge and
Yeah, so it's a very good question, Manjula. And the twin pit technology is actually the gold standard. It's the gold standard because it doesn't require cleaning if built right. So my big worry is, are we training our masons to do it right? That the first pit can last a family for 2 years, 2 to 3 years. And then it's quite easy to shut it. And there's a valve system, which then the second pit becomes operative. And in a year or two, that first pit is perfectly hygienic to use as fertilizer. So that is why it's a gold standard, because it doesn't require much. Now, whether the family itself will dig out the sludge, and our secretary, Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation, stood in it and cleaned it and showed that, hey, by the way, this is perfectly kosher. But the fact is that in rural India, cleaning out that pit
He did that? He stood in it and cleaned it out?
It's like a black powder and it is fertilizer. It's absolutely
You say it's good for
certain.
cotton.
I've said let's use fecal sludge for, if nothing else, for non-food. That's what Uganda's done. But apparently this is safe even otherwise.
But what about the yuck factor,
Well, so that's it. So, and we have to get over that and recognize that we are a nation that has grown up with cow dung and with understanding the value. I mean, cow dung today is fertilizer. We burn it for our food when we cook. So we're not living that far away from shit. So here we have treated shit. So why not use it? So we do have to get over that. I mean, of course, there's an issue.
That's holy shit.
Yeah, that's holy shit. That's true. Yeah. So, but treatment at the city level is far more serious, because here twin pit technology is not in place. We basically
there's space for it also, no?
Well, you're right. So we need space, but as I have in a chapter in the book, I've argued that we can have small STPs, which resident welfare associations can do. A couple of crores is the capital cost. The running cost for an individual, for a plant which covers 1 lakh people, so very readily done, is 800 rupees. 800
That's it?
rupees, yeah. So am I not going to be prepared to pay it to
Yes,
do
of
my
course.
bit to ensure that my shit is treated and not polluting the environment? And what comes from it? You get wastewater, which you can use for horticulture, so you don't lose the water that goes with it. And the sludge ultimately does need treating, for which there has to be a mechanism to, of course, collect it, treat it, and use it as fertilizer. So rather than wait 6 to 7 years to set up a huge sewage plant, and cities like Delhi barely treat half, in fact 40% of our sludge. If we can get these smaller plants and a system going by which entrepreneurs are set up who can make money doing it, and that's what Uganda did.
Okay.
They have 10 millionaires in Uganda.
Yes, you mentioned
who
that,
are
yeah.
prepared to basically, they remove sludge from slums. And how do they do it? It's an NGO, government, the municipality came together. They're beautiful white plastic barrels, color-coded yellow and green, etc. on top for their different collection mechanisms. They go in, they slide this under the pot, okay? And when they go back in, they just put the lid on, clear it, it goes to a factory, wheelbarrow to truck to the factory on the outskirts. That factory treats the sludge and it's available for cotton fields around. So we need to complete the cycle. Right now, we have a very broken system. You have the guy who comes to clean out your sewage tank and then no control on where he's dumping the sewage.
Yes.
Is he going to the treatment plant where ideally he should be given a tipping fee, money for doing that, but actually he doesn't get the tipping fee. I pay him money to clean out my sewage pit.
Okay.
Thereafter, he has no incentive to go anywhere other than what's closest. So they'll empty it out on the ridge, they'll empty it out in the next water body. So we have to close this cycle so that from collection to treatment, whether it's happening through what are called honeysuckers, these sewage removal tankers are called honeysuckers. So these honeysuckers that come have to come and then be GPS tagged so we know where they go, incentivize them to empty out the sludge in a treatment plant and then have that treatment plant have a fertilizer system which can be used and water which can be used. Now, some progressive municipalities like Nagpur, recognizing this, and Nagpur's always been very progressive, I must say, as a municipality, that this wastewater, which is treated water, but it's not good enough maybe to bathe in, but it's good enough for horticulture, it's good enough for maybe flushing systems.
Yes.
It's definitely good enough for power plants and their cooling towers.
Yes.
So they've encouraged industry that uses this water and power plants to come up adjacent to where it is. Okay. So you have to think about the full cycle rather than in independent silo thinking as we have done.
Like you mentioned, like there are many NGOs, 8 NGOs, something working in one area, and they didn't know.
One doesn't know what the other's doing.
They didn't know what the other was doing.
So, and the interconnects, from sanitation to water. If you want to save water, you can also save it from proper sanitation. It's not, and of course, in our cities, we go the other extreme. We spoil the good water because the untreated sewage is flowing into the Yamuna, where we need sewage treatment plants. But there are solutions which are not just the solutions of the West. Large sewage plants. These small sewage plants have been used in Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines with some success. So why don't we replicate these? So I think what we are attempting to do in sanitation through the India Sanitation Coalition, which is something a bunch of us founded, is best practices, not just in India, around the world, replicate it here, share, collaborate, bring partnerships between corporates, government, NGOs, all players. And of course, the whole knowledge benchmarking to publish what is working, what should work, and get that thinking going. So it's a small drop in the ocean of what is required in sanitation, but we need to do a lot of that.
No, but what I'm thinking is that, really the biggest challenge is our thinking as a society, This, I mean, we are overwhelmed by the yuck factor. In everything, we just think that if we just throw it away and we can't see it,
so we create
it's a solution. But it exacerbates things.
Absolutely.
So how does one go about changing that?
The thinking.
That is,
So if you look at the village level, how quickly, and studies are now showing that it takes a whole village only 3 months to convert to being open defecation free. They get it.
Really?
So children, women, they are very much a part of that change factor. Schools help. Kids carry those messages home. Women, as we well know, it's because not having a loo at home means they only go early morning,
and
late
dangerous.
night. Oh, and the danger factor in terms of how they go in the dark, but also their health, urinary infections, etc. Much has been said about that. But the village has to be open defecation free, which means men also have to sign up to the program. And that is to do with health and hygiene. And India today, and we were discussing stunting, that the tragedy is that 40% of our population today does not grow to its full physical size because of hygiene, because of diarrhea. And India has the worst record of child deaths from diarrhea. 1,600 kids die every day from diarrhea. Usually caused because of poor sanitation, poor water. And think about it. When Malaysian Airlines goes down, it's front page news, 200 people missing. Front page news for 2 weeks. Where is it gone? How is it gone? Where are the bodies? We lose 8 Malaysian airline jets every day. And it's not front page news. So where is our awareness? Of the 40% of stunting, 15% brains do not develop to their full capacity. What is this demographic dividend if we have people who are sick, underdeveloped, and brains not developed? So we have to look at sanitation as a health factor. And the good news is that our people get it. So then it's about affordability, delivery of the system. To some extent, there is a pushback because people don't want the toilet in their homes because, hey, we've always gone in the open. Who's going to clean it? Who's going to look after it? We have to get over those humps. And I think education and the challenge before us is getting people to convert, where some will convert, but we need all to convert.
But this whole Swachh Bharat thing, actually, at the ground level, that's one thing that's got a lot of
Very good.
appreciation.
It's been fantastic.
Because everybody, like poor people,
Yes.
also, everybody needs toilets.
And
I mean,
the government's own messaging, the whole government mechanism down to the collector level has aligned. And I mean, it's really kudos to this government to have brought it so strongly forward from the Prime Minister downwards to actually change this. And otherwise, India had to hang its head in shame.
Yes. Yeah, whenever, I mean, people came from abroad and then you had to like steer them away from areas where people were defecating.
Yeah.
Which is a bit, and the thing is, like we were talking about, when I went to Bangladesh, I found that they were absolutely open defecation free.
Yes.
And I found it really impressive.
And have
They're
been
poor.
for a while.
Yeah. They're poor, it's dirty, I mean, there's garbage and everything.
Yeah.
But I didn't, in the whole week that I was there, I didn't see one person doing open.
So the good news is we can change and are changing, and the direction is absolutely right. Are we going to be open defecation free by October 2, 2019? I don't know, because there are at least two
That's
states.
too close, maybe.
It's close. The challenges are big. Some states are absolutely already on track for it, but two states, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar in particular, are laggards. So we have to pick up the pace. But are we directionally right? Absolutely. But I can keep on talking about shit. So maybe we should change the subject. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I should read this, the flap, so that the viewers will know what the book is about. Survivor Sink is a wake-up call in these environmentally troubled times in tackling issues that threaten India and the planet. The book underscores the role that citizens, industries, civil society, media, and the government need to play by collaborating to address poor sanitation, water, and pollution. This will help in improving human well-being, health, and also reduce the impact of climate change. A prolific writer with many articles published on these issues, Naina Lal Kidwai uses her extensive experience and comprehensive insights to write compellingly about possible solutions. She also covers green finance and the financial structure for sustainability, inclusive growth, green jobs, and the critical role of women in social transformation. Backed by examples, Survivor Sink presents a holistic approach to the many challenges and opportunities in sustainable development in India. The book emphasizes the fact that the ideal way to achieve sustainable growth is to be responsible about the climate and the environment. It's a must read for all who care about the future of India and protecting our planet. So, talk a bit about green jobs.
Yeah. Well, a huge opportunity. Studies show, and in fact I quote that in the book, that in just solar, if India is to achieve the 100 gigawatts that we have set ourselves as the target, and we're well on track for, 1 million jobs. Wind, 60 gigawatts, another 200,000 jobs. So just in those sectors, and then if you begin to look at sanitation and water, that the Skills Council for Green Jobs has actually said that 30% of the jobs would come from sanitation and another 30% from waste management. So imagine an India where municipalities have not been able to deliver. If we can permit entrepreneurs and we encourage them to come in and fix these issues. And this is exactly what Uganda did by creating 10 millionaires who came in and made money by clearing out the shit for what the municipality would have otherwise not done. They made money. So we have to create an ecosystem that the entrepreneur who comes in makes money, that their rights are protected. We have to train people to do this right. So if you consider these small desludging plants that I'm thinking of in terms of near resident welfare associations, someone has to operate them to a level where they're always functioning. Okay. I, as a resident, am prepared to pay 800 rupees a year for that treatment, but it needs to run. And it needs to run to a level which is entirely acceptable. So we could train people who become the entrepreneurs, who make money doing all of this. So we have to think a little out of the box, bring private capital in, bring entrepreneurs in, train people to do this. And at another level, plumbing. So the Kohler Academy, which is training plumbers, has forecast that 300,000 plumbers are needed. Now, I mean, 300,000 jobs.
Yes.
Now, the plumber need not be just a plumber. The plumber can have tools very different to what he deals with today, which makes his job easier. He can be an entrepreneur because he can hire and train another 10 plumbers and run a plumbing operation with an online system where he can be called instead of just word of mouth, etc. So again, if we can teach an individual not just the trade, but also how to run it as a business, and that enables them to be more effective, that whole solution that comes from green jobs for a country that needs jobs can be fantastic. So, but we need to show people the way, because these jobs have not existed before. I want to be a teacher because my father was a teacher. I want a government job because my father was a government servant. Have I thought about these roles? And for young who want to run their own businesses, it's very different if you tell a guy you become a sweeper with government. But if you tell him to run a business, which is in the business of sweeping, it's a very different attitude. And how you sweep. You don't have to get down on all fours. You can have vacuum cleaners. You can have equipment and pride. I mean,
be a higher level.
Think about how when you walk into a toilet at the airport, it's today immaculate.
That's true.
The women smiling, the pride they take in keeping it clean. What happened? Somebody trained them. Somebody showed them the way. And moreover, the attitude and approach is not where they're hanging their heads in shame. They go out proudly with their uniforms. They walk in with their heads up. So we have to change the way we look at some of these jobs and provide the tools to do it in a respectable, humane way. And then, while I don't touch on the whole solid waste management, plastic waste management area, I mean, do we have a problem? My God, we have a huge problem. And imagine the job creation that can come from removing scavenging to getting this right.
So basically, it's a question of, I mean, you've presented this in this very comprehensive way. I mean, everybody knows that the problem exists. But what I found interesting about this book is that you put it out there, you've kind of like presented it and said, this is the problem and this is what we need to do. And perhaps, readers who could be inspired to do their own thing and, maybe, set out in batches and follow.
And young people who are at the college level, why aren't more IIT grads coming through in sanitation when it is a crying need? Where are the degrees that will help us to resolve some of these issues? Architecture, for example, in terms of the urban environment. So in the pollution section, I talk a lot about the cities that we need to build. As in, what should those cities look like? And we are creating smart cities, or even more important, the Amrut program looks at smart neighborhoods. So when we build to a smart neighborhood, are we ensuring that we tick the boxes on all of these aspects? So the city of tomorrow, which is being proposed by a couple of the think tanks, in fact, I work with abroad, are very different to the cities built by the West, where you had a downtown and everybody commuted in and you had traffic jams and issues. And we built the same, so you have Connaught Place and everybody goes in and comes out and think of the mess they're in. Whereas the new city is really compact, connected, and therefore tending to be vertical with big green spaces. So you don't have urban sprawl. You plan it so that there are large green spaces and you go vertical. That mixed neighborhoods. So ideally you walk to work, so you don't add to climate change and vehicular traffic and all of those issues. So you can conceive it very differently. So the city of tomorrow could be digitally connected in a way where, because I don't have good Wi-Fi at home, or I live in a small flat with crying kids and things, I can go to the nearest Wi-Fi hub and work from there connected to my office, which may be anywhere in the world, forget being anywhere in India or anywhere in the city. So can we conceive of our cities in a way which take care of traffic, pollution, carbon emissions into the air, and all of that? And the answer for us is not going to be odd even numbers, right? The problem in a city like Delhi runs from stubble, which is burning in neighborhoods, and it's not just Delhi, it's the entire northern Indo-Gangetic belt.
Yes.
It's been an age-old custom. The solutions are also known. The changeover is not going to be easy, but have we really applied our minds and money to it? No. It only happened when awareness in a city like Delhi finally rose to a level where we realized that we were having this toxic gas which we were breathing in. But the fact is that stubble burning remains an issue, and come November, we are again going to be breathing toxic air. Vehicular pollution, Euro 6 is absolutely the norm. We have many people who are suggesting that moving to the right Euro 6 format is good. But what else do we need to do in terms of the vehicles we retire and the trucks that come through the city and the planning therein? And the good news there is there are at least 2 ring roads being planned so trucks don't have to come through Delhi. So we need very focused but holistic planning. Okay. It can't be just one little direction and showing that, oh, I'm doing something, and then when the problem goes away because you've suddenly got a blue skies, you forget it. So construction. Today, in many cities in China, you are not allowed to mix cement in the city. So they come like precast concrete slabs. So you can just put them together there. So all this dust and mess that we see flying around, where...
That's eliminated.
Yeah. So what are the main causes of pollution? So yes, stubble and the air therein. Absolutely vehicular dust, construction, and then just road dust. We don't build our roads from corner to corner. There's always huge tracts of dust on either side with cars going. Think of all the dust that's always flying around our roads.
Yeah.
So
we're just used to it.
Well,
think of it.
Or there's a format of building which we just never progressed to look at. Fine, we looked at the road, but we didn't look at how best to do it so that pollution was contained. So all of this needs to be thought through with the pollution aspect in mind, where it isn't about tackling pollution, it is about the health of societies and the productivity losses which runs into, by any estimate, billions of dollars, where we can lose anywhere from 2 to 6% of the GDP because of pollution. And it needs therefore tackling at every level, right down to, for example, cities. We've had historically brick kilns in the city.
Yeah.
Now, when you move these, people's livelihoods and all also have to be taken care of. We need solutions for every piece, but it all knits together under the one format, which is pollution.
Now, talking about this GDP thing, also, the lack of women participating in the workforce. You write extensively about it, and that's a really impressive chapter. I read it, and I was thinking that, talk about that, what's holding a lot of women back, safety and, thinking, everything, patriarchy.
So to bring it under the sort of umbrella of what I was covering, which is basically to do with water, sanitation and these aspects, women clearly get it. But if you look at the history of the world, that the big liberator for women was water. So women spend inordinate amount of time collecting water for the household. So even
drop out of school, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and you have to stay back. Someone has to collect the water. The water is from 10 kilometers away. It has to be brought. It has to be carried in. Yeah. So the big liberator is the day you make clean water available at home. The women, and which is usually the girls in the family, who are made to stay back from school in order to help with this whole process, become free to go to school. Right? So that's one. Sanitation. It's well known today that if the toilets for girls are not available in schools, once they get into a menstrual cycle, they will not attend school. So provision of toilets in schools. So the big liberator for women is water and sanitation. And pollution, cook stoves, big issue. That at the village level today, women are still cooking on firewood. And as a result, the smoke and all of that, and the kids on her lap while she's doing this, but she's imbibing the smoke every day. So a huge move for cook stoves, solar cook stoves, and now this a great program of LPG provision, which can replace all of this. So women are the ones that are the most hit by poor pollution practices. So in this case, at the village level, at cook stoves level, sanitation and lack of sanitation and water. And so we have to do something about that. And the other side of it, of course, is the security and safety for these same women in terms of not having the loos. At the city level, at least women wanting the loos is very much a factor. Families want it. Often it is just the issue of where to put it. So we need better programs of community toilets or provision of small and less water needed toilets at the city level for families that want to put it into their homes.
Okay, so these are mega subjects, and I actually, even one book, I'm sure you'll write more books.
This is my third, but I'm not sure I have the energy to do another. Yeah,
but I'm sure this book will be a big help for policymakers, for
actually university students. I've
and
written it
university
at
students,
a level
for future policymakers.
and the practitioners, that they may get ideas to create businesses,
Yes, I'm
make
sure they'll
money,
get ideas,
be entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
and really drive the change.
And perhaps it'll change the way we think as a society about many things.
Yeah. Or see the opportunity, because it's a challenge, but the opportunity is staring us in the face.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is definitely a book that's worth reading, and not just reading, it helps you think and actually germinates a few ideas. Maybe even at the domestic level, one could think about little things. It sets you thinking about it.
Waste segregation, making sure that
Yes.
everybody around you understands the need to not open defecate, etc., etc. Yeah, we all have a role. At a minimum, as communication of behavior change experts. Absolutely. Yeah.
So it was great talking to you. Thank you so much. And
Thank you. I hope we will be hearing more from you on these subjects. You're quite an expert. Thanks, Manjula.
After reading the book.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So hit like and share.